Hello, and welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today. And today, I was kind of hoping that people would come in a little bit early because what we're going to be talking about is COVID prevention, what you should do if you think you have COVID or have been exposed to COVID, as well as what you can do to detox. Um, if you've had COVID, if you feel like you had long COVID, or if you feel like you're being affected by the spike protein from other people that have been vaccinated and are shedding the spike protein. And so it really is something to have a piece of paper and a pen to take notes because there's just a lot of information. And so if you are tuning into this show late, I hope you watch the show from the beginning so you can get all of the details because there really is some very specific information that is tied to this whole thing. And so, excuse my glasses, my little dollar readers, but they work good and I can read my paper. So if you, this started off what you could do if you have long COVID or you've been vaccinated and have been worried about having the spike protein still in your body. But I also found some protocols about what you can do to prevent COVID. And now that, there's talk on the street that COVID is back, whatever, that you can do to prevent getting COVID in the first place. Okay, so I'm going to talk about COVID prevention first and then go from there. And so there are a number of different recommendations that they offer that usually they suggest doing them all at the same time, so if you work in an environment like you're a teacher and you're around people all the time, or if you are a nurse or a doctor, but in those environments where you're around people all the time, I would recommend doing all of these things because it's not just doing one thing, but having kind of a balanced approach to what is going on. And so for the COVID prevention, one of the things that they highly recommend is that you gargle twice a day using like Scope or Crest mouthwash to kill any bacteria. So the belief is that when we breathe, you take in the air, and so the bacteria or the virus, gets into your nose and into your mouth first, thus the mask. And so by gargling twice a day, you're going to kill any bacteria that's in your mouth as a preventative. What's also recommended is that you take vitamin D every day. You take at least 500 milligrams of vitamin C twice a day. Personally, I take about 2,000 milligrams a day, once in the morning, once at night. That you take zinc, 20 to 50 milligrams a day. This one I thought was very interesting is that you take melatonin. Now, melatonin is usually recommended to help people sleep, and it helps line up your circadian rhythm. And so you might have heard of using it if you're having issues with your sleep. But it's recommended that you take 1 to 6 milligrams of melatonin at night because it inhibits the SARS-CoV virus from entering the brain. It's also recommended that you take elderberry. It has antioxidants and it's immune boosting. And so any herb I would think that is immune boosting, like echinacea or something like that, will keep your immune system in good shape. And then they also recommend something called Reversitol, or a combination of flavonoid supplements, 400 to 500 milligrams a day. And it says it's the most efficient interventional step which helps prevent the toxic protein from entering the cells. And so what that's suggesting is that if you are exposed, just casually at the supermarket, that this supplement or this combination of supplements will make it so that it can't get into your cells, thus infecting you. So that's what they recommend, is like a daily routine to prevent COVID. Now, there's a slightly different routine if you've been exposed or if you do have COVID. Um, Again, they suggest the mouthwash, but they also include doing a nasal spray, because there's what's going on in your mouth, but then there's any bacteria or virus particles that get into your sinuses and into your nose, and washing that out. And they up it from twice a day to 2 to 3 times a day. Again, they recommend the elderberry, the vitamin C. They recommend 500 to 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C 4 times a day. So if you're doing the 1,000 milligrams, it would be 4,000 milligrams a day. And they suggest that for a week if you're exposed, okay? Zinc, they up it from 20 to 50 to 50 to 90 milligrams a day for a week. Again, if you're exposed, this is not what you would take on a daily maintenance preventative basis, but if you've been exposed or if you think you're infected. The melatonin is the same, 2 to 5 milligrams at night. The reversatol, and then that combination flavonoid supplement, I knew I had a note somewhere else. There's the reversatol, but you could get the flavonoid combination, which is reversatol, quercetin, and then this other one that I'm going to totally kill the name. Testrol. I got nothing. I'm just going to spell it. How's that? PTEROSTILBENE. PTEROSTILBENE. 500 milligrams twice a day. And see, before it was just once a day. But they also recommend that you take ivermectin as well as hydrochloroquine. The ivermectin you would take, then they give it by weight. But you would take the ivermectin one day and then repeat a second dose the second day. So you're just taking 2 doses of the ivermectin. And then the hydrochloroquine, 200 milligrams twice a day for 5 days. So you would do that for 5 days. And the reason this topic came up was because we were talking about long COVID last week, and I've had long COVID, and I'm waiting to get my taste buds back. I can taste sweet, I can taste tangy, and so I've been eating a lot of stuff with barbecue sauce because it tastes like something, but cookies taste terrible. I've been eating a ton of peanut butter because it kind of tastes like something, but there's a lot of foods that just don't taste good. And I wasn't feeling good. And it was like, oh, I made the bed. Now I'm going to take a nap. I mean, it was just really challenging. And I had gone to the doctor for, I think, a very related reason. I was having a hard time. I was really dehydrated and woozy. And so she suggested, well, they did a test to see where the level of spike protein was in my body, which she said wasn't very high. But I didn't realize that when you got COVID, if you're not vaccinated, you still got the spike protein. I only thought that you got the spike protein if you were vaccinated. So when I heard that, I decided I was just going to go on this long COVID cleanse. And I've been on it for about a month, maybe a little bit longer. And I feel so much better. I mean, I have energy again. I can actually get stuff done. That's not just me sitting on the sofa. And still not the taste bud thing, which is kind of annoying. Although I have lost a lot of weight, which is kind of good. But I think I've lost maybe a little bit too much. But that's okay. It's all okay. So these are some of the symptoms of long COVID. Respiratory, shortness of breath, congestion, persistent cough, brain fog, tenderness, headaches, migraines, depression, inability to focus, insomnia, vertigo, panic attacks, tinnitus, and phantom smells. That's interesting. Physically, fatigue, weakness, joint pain, inability to exercise, inability to perform basic tasks. So just like that really strong fatigue. Cardiovascular, palpitations, arrhythmia, hypotension, and tachycardia on assertion. Um, but then there's autonomic postural tachycardia syndrome, which I'm guessing is your heart rate changes when you stand up, and then abnormal sweating. Now, this one, okay, so like the respiratory, I've known a few people who have had the respiratory issue, but I also know of several people who have the gastrointestinal issue, which is diarrhea, bloating, vomiting, and nausea. Especially the diarrhea, which is kind of scary, that they're having to take steroids to address the diarrhea, or take steroids because their lungs feel inflamed. And so maybe addressing their body with as a long COVID issue, if it wasn't there, and it takes a little bit of time. That's one of the things I've also noticed. It takes a couple of months for these symptoms to really come on strong. So if you had COVID or were vaccinated, and then you're having these symptoms, doing the long COVID protocol is something I would recommend. And then mucous membrane, runny nose, sneezing, burning, and itchy eyes. Okay. So those are the symptoms of long COVID, and or, in my opinion, if you've been vaccinated and are having some kind of a vaccine reaction and still have high levels of the spike protein in the body. And one of the goals of this is to convert the spike proteins in the body so they can be eliminated, as well as reduce inflammation in the body, because many of the things that are on this list are really tied to inflammation in different areas of the body. Okay, so this is a pretty hardcore protocol. I ended up buying, like the little pill things, like a week at a time pill things, and I bought two. And I drew a little sun on one and a little moon on the other, because I have a morning one and a night one, and they're both full. And I found it was just easier to get up in the morning and take what was in the thing versus opening up a bunch of bottles and dealing with it, because I would never do it, because I'm not very compliant in general. Okay. Let me just check one thing. All right. So, get your pen and paper, because this is a pretty healthy list. Okay. So the first item that they recommend is nanokinase, 100 to 200 milligrams twice a day. And its job is to break down the spike protein. Yay. That reversatol, 500 milligrams a day. It encourages the removal of the spike protein, as well as cleaned out damaged cell in order to regenerate newer, healthier ones. Another yay. Aspirin. One of the issues that you hear, a lot of my friends are kind of conspiratorial, is about the blood clots. So one of the low dose aspirins every day, just to kind of keep that working. Magnesium, 100 to 400 milligrams a day to support the immune system. Omega-3 fatty acids, 2 to 4 grams a day. That helps with inflammation in the body. CoQ enzyme 10 also deals with inflammation. The melatonin as well, 3 to 10 milligrams a day or at night. Bromelain, this one was interesting. So bromelain is normally identified as a digestive enzyme. It's kind of like eating pineapple or papaya, one of them, and it breaks down food. But they recommend 500 milligrams twice a day, and or both N-acetylcysteine, NAC, 600 milligrams twice a day. And they work synergistically to inactivate the SARS-CoV virus or the spike protein from the body. And then the final one, berberine, which I've never heard. I mean, I've heard of it, but wasn't very familiar with it. 500 to 600 milligrams twice a day. And it says berberine may reduce the serum levels of inflammatory mediators due to the spike protein. And so if you're one of the people that had the respiratory thing going on or the chronic diarrhea, which is due to inflammation, in my opinion, that would be one of the supplements. It's a little hard to tell exactly what's going on with this. I do know that minimally, if you just want to do the minimal, that they recommend the nanokinase and the reversatol as part of the cleansing program. But taking the vitamin D, the vitamin C, and the zinc daily should just be part of your regular health and nutrition plan in general, because of what's going on, fix that. So anyway, so that's this. If somebody wants me to send them a copy of this or wants me to post this on the live page, let me know and I will go ahead and do that so you have it as a reference. Okay, let's get these things off. Okay, so that's what I've got. I hope that none of you, get COVID. I hope that, you don't end up with long COVID because it really kind of sucks. And that working with this will make you feel a lot better. And again, there's been the talk of COVID reappearing and doing things to proactively protect you from getting COVID or minimizing it if you do happen to get it. That's the deal. To me, that's the deal. So anyway, so I am going to open up the phone lines here in a second, but don't forget, please stop on my webpage, soulhealer.com, if you would like to schedule a private consultation with me. I finally added a link for the newsletter back in. And so if you would like to sign up for the newsletter to be kept informed of when these live streams are coming up or anything that's going on in Dr. Rita land, please do. That's at soulhealer.com. Please like my page, Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook, Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook. If you're a YouTube person, the page is Just Energy Radio on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, give me a thumbs up. All of those YouTube things, I would really appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to say hi to everybody. I'm just going to go through the list, say hi to everybody, and then go back and answer any questions that might be in there. All right, because there's a bunch. And so we got Veronica. Hey, Veronica. Oh, we have Blind Dog World Headquarters. See, I'm smart and I remember. Hey, Blind Dog. Hey, Liz. We have Marco in the house. Hey, Marco. We have Luke. Hi, Luke. We have January. Hi, January. We have Hope. Hi, Hope. Hey, Johnny. Johnny, that little baby, that cute baby. Okay, let's see. Mark's still there. We have, where'd you go, Eric? Hey, Eric. Nice seeing you. Kim, if you're there, nice seeing you. And Amy. Hi, Amy. Okay, so I'm going to go back up and kind of read through, see what people have to say. All right, so Veronica says, I just got it, then got it over using Dr. Peter McCullough's protocol. Very similar to frontline doctors. Yes, it's very similar. And, and I know that Dr. Peter McCullough worked with frontline doctors to put this protocol together. You have to do something. There are so many people that when they're not feeling good, they just rather go to the doctor and get some prescription or go to the doctor and they're like, well, I'll just go home and live it through. when there's just so much you can do to support yourself and support your body so you don't deal with it. I mean, I didn't get COVID until February of this year. And I think the only reason I got COVID was because I was in a room with this guy looking to buy a house, and he was the realtor, and he goes, "Oh, well, I just tested positive for COVID." And I'm like, "Yay." But I never got it until then. Why? Because I took care of myself and took supplements. Okay. Veronica's back. I rotated hydrogen peroxide and providine, iodine to swab my ears, nose, and throats, and ivermectin plus supplement. Yes, ma'am. All right, let's see. Okay, so Hope wants to know about her spirit guides. So Hope, I'm really not auditory, and so I don't answer questions about dead people, questions about guides, because that doesn't really come through for me. But if you have another question, I'd be happy to answer. So Veronica says, I didn't know they have a test for the spike protein. Yes, they do. I was really surprised. And I was really surprised that you can have spike protein in your body just from getting COVID, or you can have spike protein from people shedding. Now, I'm going to tell you this. So, so I was in a relationship with this guy who was living with me, and he had been vaccinated, and I had chest pain, my lungs hurt, I was having problems breathing. I was just having it was not good. I was getting really scared because it was not good. And then he left and all the symptoms went away. And then we had there was a tornado here, and I didn't have power. Well, I did not have power, but a lot of people didn't have power for a week. I had a generator, so a girlfriend of mine was staying here because at least we could put one air conditioner on, and we could put some lights on, and keep my refrigerator running. And by the end of the week, I could feel my body reacting to her being in the house. So I need to get her on that so that maybe she stops affecting me. And so Hope said, glad to hear you're slowly recovering from long COVID. Hope, and I think that, on a scale of 1 to 10 of long COVID, I probably had like a 4 long COVID. I think people have had it a lot worse. I really would like my taste buds back. I really would like to be able to eat a cookie, like a really good cookie, and not have it taste awful. I mean, how can cookies taste awful? That's just bad. So Mark says, hi, Miss Super Smart and Talented. Hi, Mark. Okay. Okay, so Hope asks that I post the protocol. So Hope, I can't do that in this moment, but after the show, I will go ahead and attach it to the video thing. Okay, so Amy says hi. Blind Dog says hi. Hey, Liz, hi. Hey, Dog, are you guys going to the festival this weekend or not? Because I know you'll be working. So let me know, because I'll be there. Wow. Hey, Miss Denise Smith. Nice seeing you here. And Mark said, don't forget me. Mark, I will never forget you, ever. And so Veronica wants to know, what docs do these spike proteins test? Okay, so I'm not quite sure what that question is, Veronica. So when I went to my regular doctor, because I don't want to say I was having a hard time breathing. I was just like not maintaining real well and was just extremely fatigued and was, every time I would get up, it was like, whoa. And when I had an entire day of that, every time I stood up, I kind of scared myself and went to the doctor, which I never do. And then she got on my case about, well, you should have went to the emergency room when all of this started. And I'm like, I'm here. This is it. I trust you. Why would I want to go there that they're just going to tell me some stupid stuff? But I don't know what the test is, but she was just my regular primary care physician that was able to order the test. So, and just an FYI, so when the billing came out, there was the billing for the standard blood chemistry that they did for me. And this was a separate billing. So it must be a specific test that they do. I don't really have any more information than that. So, wow, I'm down at the bottom of my list. Come on, guys. You got any questions or any comments? I'm sure, everybody or almost everybody in here has had COVID. Are you feeling the effects of the long COVID, or what was your experience with that? So, when they first started, when COVID hit, the first thing that I did was that, I increased my vitamin C. I started taking echinacea, and I started drinking tonic water. Tonic water has quinine in it, which is the basis of quercetin, which I kind of really feel like helped prevent me from getting COVID because I was drinking that every day. Okay. So Mark, I'm just going to shut up. Mark says, I have a terminal case of Rita vid. You're so sweet, Mark. Okay. So Luke says, hi, Doc. Lately, I've lost my motivation for my passion. Would you be able to give me any insights? Sure can, Luke. Okay. So, they tend to show me images. And one of the things that I'm seeing is that the thing that you're passionate about is kind of like you've really been fixated on it. And I'm feeling like what they're wanting you to do is to kind of shift your focus, not go over there and do something completely different, but shift your focus from the tried and true, what has been working for you, into a slightly different, maybe more risky, maybe requires you to do some research or homework on how to move forward in this other area. And so I don't feel like you've lost your passion. I just feel like you've more hit, for lack of better words, a bit of a brick wall. And instead of keeping crashing into that same brick wall, perhaps take a step to the right and move through the door to this new level. They're just really pushing you to hit a new level, if that makes sense. So Luke, let me know if that makes sense to you or if you have a follow-up or something like that. So Veronica says she drinks tonic water too. I think, I think it tastes pretty good. Okay, so Amy says, my understanding is detoxing is for both heavy metals and parasites is quite important for all to be doing. So I figured I would do that. How would I know if it's working? That you would feel better, I think would be, the way that would be the measure. But a lot depends on how much heavy metal you have in your body, how much parasitic action you have in your body. If you don't have a lot of heavy metals, then you can do the detox and it'll get rid of what's there, but you really might not notice much. Same with the parasites. If you're not overloaded with parasites, or if you're not just like the parasite queen, you might not really notice that much. I mean, several years ago, something that was becoming very popular in the holistic movement were these like foot baths that, like ionizing foot baths. I don't know. I only ever did it once, but I remember working at different conferences, and they would have people selling these foot bath things or doing treatments while you were there. And I have to tell you, it's like just put your feet in this tub for like 20 minutes, whatever. And the water went from being water to like a septic tank. Nasty, nasty, like, what? It was disgusting. And so I just assumed that when I did it, that I would have the same noxious kind of water around my feet, and not so much. And it just made me wonder. It's like, so how does this person treat their body in the general sense of the word? Do they eat a lot of junk? Is what's coming out all of these toxins that have built up because they really aren't taking care of themselves? They're not eating good food. They're eating a lot of junk food. They're eating a lot of sugar. And that is what the body is dumping and eliminating. And so, I think doing cleansing on a regular basis, I mean, not all the time, but like kind of rotating through them periodically is really great. But if you don't have a lot of that in your body, air quote, then you're really not going to notice a lot of change. I know that there are women that are, and I'm calling out women here, but it can be guys too, that have like heavy loads of candida and they feel terrible. And then when they do the candida cleanse, they feel a million times better. But it's because they have this heavy, heavy candida load. But if you don't have that giant load going on, then you're really not going to notice as big of a shift. And that was a very, very, very long explanation to your question, but I think, I think everybody gets it now. So January says, make sure you drink Pedialyte if you get COVID. But doesn't Pedialyte have sugar in it? And I'm not a sugar person. You can, they're a little bit hard to find electrolytes on the internet, or get Celtic salt, which is salt with the minerals still in it, to help balance your electrolytes out. And then you're just drinking the water and not getting the sugar in it as well. But if you're just like a supermarket person and, it's just easier for you to do that, then Pedialyte is better than not doing anything. And as always, drink lots of water, not coffee, not tea, not soda, but just water. Okay, so Luke said, more risk, thanks, Doc. And Luke, and I'm just going to kind of clarify, it doesn't really have to be a huge risk. I'm just feeling like there's something that has been kind of calling you to go in this direction, and you haven't, and you see the risk and you're just backing off, or it's going to cost you some money, or whatever. Do it, go for it, because it's going to take you to the next level. All right, so Margie says, hey girl, I started taking quercetin with bromelain for my fall and spring allergies before COVID. Got off my Singular med. Hey, that's very cool. And the bromelain, all right, hang on a second, because bromelain is not a supplement that I'm like totally familiar with. Well, that's interesting because the bromelain reduces inflammation. And so that would totally make sense that if, you're taking some kind of steroid inhaler kind of thing, that addressing the inflammation with a supplement would address it. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that, because that kind of adds a different dimension to working with the supplements. Thank you. See, Marco loves me. Rita's the best. Yay. Okay. So Veronica asked, do you have a Candida cleanse protocol that you like? To make it be simple, I don't have one right off the top of my head that I can share, like supplement wise. I'm just going to I'm going to cheat out here real quick. At the health food store, they have these like yellow boxes, and don't ask me the name. It's just the yellow box. Um, that's a candida cleanse that I think is a very good cleanse. But here's the key to doing a candida cleanse. It is quitting the sugar. Quit the sugar. So everybody's body has candida in it, but candida lives on sugar. And so this is the way I like to explain candida is you have your backyard. And so what do we normally have in our backyard? We have grass. And so if you take antibiotics, and we all end up at some point in time or another taking antibiotics, some more than others, it's like when you just sprayed Roundup across your whole yard. And then you just leave it and have this expectation that the grass is going to grow back in. But what ends up happening is that you end up with some grass and a lot of weeds. And the weeds is the candida. And the candida grows and multiplies because you're feeding it with the sugar. So you can do the cleanse, but the key to making the cleanse work is to get rid of the sugar. And there are people that have what's called systemic candida. So I know that I have systemic candida. I grew up in a very carb-based family. And so we ate a lot of pasta, we ate a lot of rice, maybe potatoes, but a lot of pasta and a lot of rice. And hell, I don't even care. And I used to have these really dark black bags under my eyes. And so the first time I did a candida cleanse, it was kind of funny because at one point I could see a vein like right here. And I'm like, wow, there's a vein there. And I mean, I have a little bit of foundation on, but I mean, that's it. I mean, and that was all candida. And so people that have systemic candida, or you really have to watch it because it's not just in your intestinal tract, it has kind of gone into the rest of your body. And so it can be very easily reactivated in your system. And so, paying attention to the sugar or doing periodic cleanses if you think you have systemic candida is really important. Thank you. Great question, Veronica. And she says, Body Armor brand has electrolyte water, no sugar. Great. I've never heard of that, but that's really good to know. Okay. So January says, today is our 4th anniversary. Blessings out of season. My husband's CCL started up after COVID. Okay, don't know what CCL is. That was in 2020. He has one more month of treatment. My question is, how does our future look? All right, so January, I want to answer you, but I don't know what CCL is. So if you could let me know, and hopefully I'll remember the question. Okay. So Veronica says, I avoid sugar. If I get some, it flares. So see, you must have some systemic candida as well. So, hey, Miss Denise. Oh, thank you, Margie. All right, I'm back to you. Now I got 2 people answering me. I see online that hydrochloroquine affects eye issues like retinal problems. Do you agree with this? What do you take instead? Okay, so, I mean, I'm not a medical doctor, so prescriptions are like, I mean, I think, okay, so if you can't do the hydrochloroquine, I mean, you can check out the chloroquine, which is a supplement and not a medication. I don't know that I really have an answer. Working with the ivermectin, Okay. So Denise, I'm just going to throw this out as well. With the hydrochloroquine in particular, you're doing a 5-day course, and there might be a bit of a risk benefit analysis of, is doing a 5-day course going to affect you so much versus getting rid of the COVID? I mean, like personally, I would not take an antibiotic, but every so often there's something going on. And, because I know it wipes out your gut flora, and my gut flora is already not that great. Um, and you have to like do that risk benefit analysis of, you know, is taking this supplement for 5 days going to put me over the top and create some kind of an issue? Now, there are countries that take the hydrochloroquine on a regular basis, and I would say, well, then don't take it. Take the ivermectin. In countries that have like malaria issues and stuff like that. Um, so that's going to be my answer. How's that? Um, Okay, so January, I'm back to you. So chronic lymphatic leukemia. All right, let's see. Okay, so January, this is kind of the impression that I'm getting. I feel like his system is pretty weak, and I'm going to assume that that is from the treatment. My hope is that he will go on, do the basic stuff, clean up his diet, start getting some exercise, making sure he's getting in, good vitamins and minerals to help rebuild what was taken out of his system, to help rebuild what is going on inside. Okay, so, as part of like going to the doctor, they had me go get this test done. And it made me laugh, and I think I mentioned this story last week, so I had to go do the test, and they were like, okay, well, we want you to go and get something to eat and then come back, go to the cafeteria. And it was early and I didn't want anything to eat. I just wanted something with caffeine and I was going to be good. And she was like, well, you could go get a candy bar. And I'm looking at her like, this is a hospital and you're telling me to go get a freaking candy bar? And so there is so much we can do to take care of ourselves by eating right, by taking, a high quality vitamin and mineral supplement. I feel like, his iron is low. I mean, I just feel like not that doing some homework and not necessarily listening to the doctors about what's the best way of moving forward would make more sense than just kind of throwing it to the wind and going, hang on a second. Oh, okay, well, the treatment is done. It's like, well, that piece of the treatment is done. But if you want a long-term result and have this move forward in the future with a positive result, he needs to intervene on his own health and take responsibility for it. And I don't mean to be so cranky about it, but I'm just being real because that's what I feel about what's going on. I feel like if he, like, oh, well, I'm done with the treatment and I don't have to do anything and I can go eat Whataburger and eat bacon and eat, junk food again and French fries, then, the future doesn't feel as good. So, okay. Thank you, Marge, because Marge an RN, and I'm just the doctor psychic chick. Okay. All right. So Hope's here. Several months ago, you gave me a great insight into my relationship with my daughter. I'm grateful. Help me to be more at peace. You are so welcome, Hope. I'm glad that I was able to help. And so Denise said, that's what I was thinking, only 5 day. Thank you for suggesting chloroquine instead. Yeah, and Denise, I would go and look up the chloroquine. I don't, I just don't know, to see if there's any kind of side effect or anything like that tied to it. But again, it really is only for 5 days. And It was very sad when COVID first came out and they totally dissed ivermectin and hydrochloroquine because people have been taking those drugs for years. I think ivermectin's been on the market or chloroquine's been on the market for 60 years, and people take it every week with very low side effect rate. So I don't know. Anyway, oh my God. Oh my God. Tony's in the house. I swear. Hey, dude. Love you, Tony. So Marge says that cancer thrives in an acidic environment. So, and then Veronica said doctors have very little education in nutrition, which it really is very sad, because they quote unquote corner the market on wellness, but there's this whole giant piece to wellness that they completely ignore. And then when you suggest that you're going to like do something else, they look at you like, well, that's not going to work. That's not going to do anything. I have a friend who has a bad back, and I suggested going to a chiropractor. It's like, oh, well, my back doctor said that, it's not any good and I shouldn't go there. And I'm like, well, how do you know? You've never gone. You've never gotten the opinion of the chiropractor to see if there was something they could do to help relieve your chronic pain. And you would rather just take these pain pills. Sorry, that's just not the path that I am on. So Margie said plants really help. I mean, just natural and real really helps. Our world, is just so full of pre-made, pre-processed foods that people will eat. I was teaching a nutrition class years and years ago, and so I started the class off and I asked them, what was the healthiest thing that I had? And I had three things on the table. I had a Pepsi, I had a Snickers bar, and I had two Nutri-Grain bars. And I asked them what was the healthiest thing that I had up there. And the majority of the people in the class picked the Nutri-Grain bar because it was nutritious. The reality was they all had about the same amount of sugar. The Pepsi, I mean, it was a Pepsi, so what can you do with that? The Nutri-Grain bar was packed with chemicals and crap. I mean, just crap in it. And the Snickers, not so bad. And the Snickers had nuts. And that was actually the most healthy thing on the table, was the Snickers bar. Not that I would get a Snickers bar because they told me to go get a candy bar in the hospital, because that would never happen. Okay. So Hope says she served in the Iraq War Monday, and the 9/11 anniversary was really hard on me. I feel that we never learned the truth about 9/11. Any insights? I understand if this is too heavy to answer. I mean, I don't have any like psychic insights on 9/11. I just have all my conspiracy stuff. So if you want to hear that, let me know. Hopefully it won't get me kicked off of something for sharing. But I feel like it was kind of an inside job. And the biggest thing that I got out of 9/11 was that regardless of who is behind the whole plot, our government took advantage of it and enacted that Patriot Act, which, we've never really recovered from that. And so whether that was the plan and what they were hoping to benefit from, I don't really know, but they did, which is sad. Okay. So Margie said the dietitians will go crazy in the hospital. A patient will be NPO, nothing by mouth. So the nurse will consult the dietitian. They will have to access and get an order for 2 feedings. Can't heal without nutrition. Yeah. But Marge, I mean, okay, not that I hang out in hospitals like at all. Um, but when like my mom was in the hospital or, she was in a nursing home for a while and the food is terrible, you know, and the thing so, and everything she had was like milk laden ice cream and yogurt and milky. And I'm allergic to dairy. So I became friendly with one of the nurses and I'm like, so if you don't eat all this milky stuff, what do you eat? She goes, oh, well, we have Jello. And I'm like, man, I am never going to a nursing home because it was disgusting. I would never cook for myself like that. I would never recommend anybody eat the crap that they ate. It wasn't any better in the hospital. It's like, I'm here because I'm sick and you should be serving me nutritious food. And you're not. It's crappy food. It's food that I wouldn't, if I was going to a restaurant, like if it was any good, like flavor wise, I would never order because it's just not good, and I'm not talking flavor wise. I'm talking about what they give you that, I don't know if they think it's nutritious. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking at all with that. Okay, so there is about 7 minutes left. So you have 7 more minutes to get your questions in before we wrap it up for this week, but I am at the end of my list. So Hope said my thoughts are very similar. Yeah. So Hope, I'm assuming you're talking about the 9/11 thing, so I'll come back to the 9/11 thing. The way those buildings came down, no. And the fact that there was just like this dust left over actually reminds me of the dust that was left over that you saw in Maui or in Oregon. Was that where those fires were? Where there were these houses that burned down and there was nothing. Now you would think that if there were metal pipes, the metal pipes would still be there. If there was a cast iron sink, that would still be there. If there were pots or, like ceramic things, those would, there would be something left. And with 9/11, there was nothing left. They're like, oh, it's all in the substructure. I'm like, you're talking about a lot of stories. A building that went down there and they were, yeah, I that one was hard to believe. Okay, so Veronica says, how does Abe feel about me? All right, Veronica, now I want to know who Abe is, even though I'm going to go look. So I'm getting the impression that you don't know Abe real well, or I'm not really understanding what this dynamic is. But when I look, I feel like, and the word I'm going to use is he's a little intimidated by you, like a little scared by you. So I don't know if he's just kind of timid in general. And I feel like, if you would like Abe to like you, like if that's your hope that Abe likes you, then be encouraging. Don't be too forward. He just seems scared in general. Scared of girls. Like you're a girl. Like, ooh, you have cooties. You're a girl kind of energy, if that makes sense. All right. So Veronica says, I saw a live interview with Trump as it was happening. I didn't ever see that. Okay. So Ace says, what about Building 7? All right. Building 7. They can't explain away Building 7 and how that went down in the same kind of manner that the other buildings went down. Uh, doesn't make any sense. And, and it was Building 7 that really brought the attention to what was going on in the first place. Um, and then the other thing, and I mean, it's been a long time. But when the plane crashed into the building and there was this like cartoon outline of the wings of the plane going into the building, I mean, that just seemed a little far-fetched. And actually, the one that gets me the most that I really had issues was the one that went into the Pentagon because there weren't any parts. What happened to the plane? Where did it go? I mean, how do you like disintegrate an entire plane into the building? That one was the most unexplained, and it seemed like they just really didn't want to talk about it at all. And for a building like the Pentagon, you would think that there would be cameras everywhere, everywhere. And there's that one crappy piece of video footage, that was like taken, there was like 2 or 3 images of something that didn't look like an airplane going into the building. So, yeah. And Hope says, next time I promise to be more on topic. Hope, I will talk to you about anything. I really don't care. I just really don't talk about dead people and predict the future. So if I talk to you about your daughter and she happened to be dead, then she was like bound and determined to come through. But when people just ask miscellaneous things, I don't want your dead people in my house. But if they are bound and determined, they're bound and determined. So Margie says, yes, some trees and those blue beach umbrellas were left standing on Maui. Yeah, that was a whole very interesting thing. Well, and then I love talking conspiracy. That, what was it, Oprah's house? Like there are different star people's houses that are painted that kind of blue color, which is like, And then those videos about them taking the laser and shining it at different color things and it burns them all except for the blue. And people go, oh, well, these are just conspiracy theories and you're making it up and blah, blah, blah. But, people present all kinds of evidence in different areas. And if you can take it and put it all together, it all really makes sense. Okay. All right. I'm looking at the clock. All right, so Amy, I wish you asked this early. My son is moving to Bali. Not sure which one. I can make a guess. We're at odds. He is not speaking to me. Anything I can do, or should I just keep my distance and hope he comes around? I mean, he'll come around. He always does. It's just what he, that's just his thing where he has to regroup his energy to feel whole, and then he comes back, and so, yeah, Bali. That ought to be interesting. That's kind of a long way away. Ooh, Veronica says that her and that guy are dating. Okay, so Adrian, I appreciate you coming on. Ace, all these people that have just come on, but my time is up for today. If you'd like to get a reading, you would like to join the conversation, I am here every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. Come early, get in early, get all of your questions asked, enjoy, join the conversation. You guys were great tonight. And I will post this COVID thing as soon as we're done on both Facebook and YouTube. And, as always, oh, poo, hang on a second. Stop it. As always, if you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, please go to soulhealer.com. I have tons of articles. You can find my books and almost to my new book that I just finished, finished formatting, and it should be available in a couple of months. Dang, I didn't know it was me. It's actually a really good book, I think, but it's my book. Please like me on Facebook, Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook, or if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel, Just Energy Radio on YouTube. For anyone who might be interested in becoming a energy medicine practitioner, intuitive counselor, or medical intuitive, please check out my training program at appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. That's appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. And so until next week, same time, same location, I am Dr. Rita Louise. This is Thursday Night Live. Till next time, be blessed.